Hello everyone, just wanted to say this before the main video starts, but take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not entirely sure if everything I said was true, and I didn't fully fact check, so trust the website's word over mine, okay? Anyways, on with the video. Howdy y'all, and welcome to Art Fight. I started preparing back in December, but looking at the general community, that is not common. So I decided to make this video about how I personally make and maintain my Art Fight page, along with some tips on how I have the best Art Fight I can. Every year, I start updating my profile by getting rid of the team color from last year and going back to my default green, or, depending on how late I am, updating to my new team's color. If you don't know how to do custom colors, press this button and find the hex codes. I also update anything outdated and change out my blinkies and stamps to reflect my current interests and beliefs. If you're new to Art Fight, I would look at as many people's profiles as you can to figure out how you want to set up your own. There's also many great tutorials that can help you out as well. Next up, I go through my characters and update them along with adding new ones as I go. When adding a character, all you need is an image of that character where you can very clearly see the character so that way people can draw them accurately. When choosing a picture of your character to use as a reference, make sure that the picture is not heavily shaded and the character is not majorly obscured. If you have an image you want to use as a reference, but the character is heavily shaded, include a full color palette either in the same image, a separate image, or code it into the character's page if you have a toy house or personal website. If you're using AI protection software, be careful. AI protection software distorts the image to make it harder for AI to recognize, but that also distorts the color palette, which makes it inaccurate. So, make sure to add the color palette after using the AI protection software so the colors don't get distorted. If you want to use an image where the character is majorly obscured, I would personally just not use that image. It's less effort to make a new reference sheet compared to trying to make an obscured image more clear. Speaking of, if you're not using an art piece as a reference, you can make a custom reference sheet instead. This video is about general Art Fight prep though, so I'm not going to go over that here. But if y'all want a separate video about reference sheets, I'd be more than happy to. After you have a reference image you want to use, you also need to add character-specific permissions if needed and the character's information such as pronouns, backstory, and little fun facts. With individual character permissions, you just specify what you are and are not comfortable with that character being drawn as or with. For example, I'm uncomfortable with any of my characters who are below the age of 18 being drawn in a suggestive way or with adult objects. God, I love YouTube censorship. Well, on the subject of character permissions, we also need to update universal character permissions. These permissions apply to every character on your page by default, so it's very important to keep these up to date. Most people put what they are comfortable with, what you need to ask about, and what they are uncomfortable with you doing with their characters. I personally also have a section of stuff that I actively encourage people to do with my characters. Lastly, I'm just going to give some rapid-fire tips and tricks on how I make my Art Fight experience more enjoyable. If you find one you like, go ahead and steal it. The only non-optional tip is going to the help section. There's a lot of extremely useful information there, including the site's rules, how to submit attacks, and so much more. Art Fight is a community space for artists. Treat it as such. Thank people who choose to attack you and be kind to beginner artists. Uplifting your fellow artists is important, especially when a lot of people are trying to devalue art right now. Be willing to block, unfollow, confront, and call out people for not following people's permissions or breaking the rules of Art Fight. Make sure to be polite and tell them that they're breaking the rules or someone's permissions, so that way you don't make a fool of yourself by over-escalating the situation. You can tell very quickly if someone just made an honest mistake and didn't know versus someone who actively chose to break the rules or is just generally rude and unkind. If it's the latter, file a report, block them, and be done with it. When someone accuses you of breaking the rules, double-check the rules. Honest mistakes can happen, and it's better to double-check than do what one person did, which was block me and mock me for telling them that they couldn't attack people by making their OCs into Gacha Life 2 characters. On a related note, you can save someone's username and a link to the offending attack, and still make a report or notify a staff member on Discord if you get blocked by someone. Bookmark characters in both the website and on your browser if you can. I found that when the homepage of the website is overwhelmed, it's often quicker to go to a character's page directly than try to find them again on Art Fight. Download reference images and save the character ID of characters you want to attack. The easiest way to save the character ID is by renaming the file to the character's name and ID. You never know what will happen during the month of July. Natural disasters, the website going down, and so much more. So it's always good to be prepared. Check people's attack to defense ratio so that way you don't hype yourself up for getting an attack from someone who's swamped with attacks already. It's also good to attack people who are sending out a lot of attacks but not receiving that many in return. Don't attack famous artists and expect to get a revenge in turn. Adding on to that, don't attack anyone and expect to get revenged. A lot of people who say they revenge every time don't, either because they get overwhelmed by the amount of attacks they receive, or they purposely lied to get more attacks. Try not to go all out for art fight. Don't get me wrong, it's really fun to go all out. But it's also a very quick way to burn yourself out, especially if you're not used to creating regularly. Somewhat related, but try and have a lower effort attack/revenge for when you're exhausted but still want to attack or revenge someone. For example, this year I'm going to be doing loose sketches using pencil and ink. And finally, know when to tap out. Know when you're not going to be able to participate and just leave the event. It's better than needlessly stressing yourself out, especially if you said you would revenge everyone. And if you're worried you'll only be exhausted for a week and you want to rejoin the event later in the month, talk to a moderator. I'm almost completely certain that you can rejoin the event, but it's better to talk with the people whose job is to know that information. Anyways, goodbye for now.